Hey Bougie click. Welcome back to my channel where we keep it real, call out the double standards, and unpack the deeper issues hiding behind the headlines. Today, we're diving into the backlash surrounding Meghan Markle's Netflix series with Love, Meghan. Is it really just about the show, or is it about something bigger? We're talking racism, double standards, and why some folks just can't handle a black woman thriving unapologetically. So, grab your tea, or coffee if you're fancy, and get comfy, because we're pulling no punches in this one. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on those notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
I'ma make you a fan.
Unpacking Black Women, Homemaking, and White Fragility, the Meghan Markle Case Study. From the moment of their forced arrival in the Americas, Black women were stripped of autonomy over their bodies, their families, and their homes. Unlike the romanticized ideal of homemaking celebrated for white women, Black women were cast as laborers, expected to prioritize the care of white families over their own. Homemaking, an act of love and creativity, became a near impossible luxury for them. Instead, they were tasked with creating a semblance of home in conditions of extreme brutality. The scraps of food meant to demean them became tools of cultural preservation as enslaved women cooked meals steeped in African traditions, unknowingly shaping the future of Southern cuisine. Even in the absence of property, rights, or stability, they constructed spiritual homes by preserving identity, passing down folk tales, survival knowledge, and spirituals. This was resistance in its purest form, a defiance of the dehumanization they endured. However, their labor, strength, and ingenuity were only exploited as white society erased their contributions while simultaneously benefiting from them. Reconstruction's false promises and racist constraints. After emancipation, the Reconstruction era should have been a time for freed Black women to create the soft lives they had been denied. But systemic racism had other plans. Laws like Black Codes and Jim Crow shackled their newfound autonomy. Society insisted that they remain in servitude, as white women often resented their domestic help leaving to care for their own families. Black women's ability to become homemakers was seen as a threat to white supremacy and the rigid social hierarchy it depended on. Even when Black women managed to establish homes, systemic economic oppression forced them into dual roles as wage earners and homemakers. They stretched meager resources as sharecroppers, often living under conditions that echoed slavery. The indignity of needing to sustain both their families and the families of their oppressors wasn't just an economic hardship, it was a manifestation of the racism that tried to keep Black women in a perpetual state of exhaustion and servitude. Urban ghettos and the fight against housing racism. The Great Migration offered the promise of liberation from the suffocating grip of Southern racism, but it was met with new challenges. Racial discrimination in housing policies pushed Black families into overcrowded urban ghettos. The societal structures that enabled white women to play homemaker while their husbands earned a family wage did not apply to Black families, as they were systematically locked out of those opportunities. Even so, Black women redefined homemaking during this era. They transformed cramped apartments into spaces alive with culture and joy, opened businesses in their communities, and forged networks of support that turned neighborhoods into havens of solidarity. Yet, their innovations and contributions were often belittled or ignored, as society continued to deny them the softness, safety, and recognition given to white homemakers. The Civil Rights Movement, resistance from the home. The Civil Rights era further exposed the systemic racism embedded in American society, which included denying Black women the luxury of solely being homemakers. White society labeled Black homes and families as inferior while continuing to profit from their labor. Despite this, Black women turned homemaking into a political statement, transforming their kitchens and living rooms into nerve centers for activism. The stereotype of Black women as strong rather than soft was weaponized, devaluing their emotional labor and enforcing a narrative that they didn't need the care, rest, or joy afforded to others. Dressing children impeccably for marches and housing activists were acts of dignity and defiance. Yet, the racism that sought to diminish their contributions persisted, undermining their right to experience and embrace softness in their personal lives. Today's homemaking, a legacy of resistance. Even in modern times, the idea of the soft life for Black women is met with societal resistance. Gentrification, economic inequality, and systemic racism are the evolved versions of historical barriers. Black women are still expected to carry the weight of survival and caregiving, even as they reclaim homemaking in dynamic and innovative ways. Platforms like social media have provided space for a renaissance of Black homemaking, where traditions are celebrated and joy is centered. Yet, the echoes of history persist, as the world continues to hold Black women to double standards that deny them the luxury and leisure freely given to others. Through it all, the legacy of Black homemaking endures as a testament to resilience, cultural preservation, and love. However, the societal insistence on denying Black women the softness and support necessary to fully thrive remains one of the starkest reminders of the racism intertwined with their histories. Case study: Meghan Markle's Netflix show With Love, Meghan and public reaction. Meghan Markle's Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, debuted on March 4, 2025. The 8-episode lifestyle show features the Duchess of Sussex sharing personal tips on cooking, homemaking, and party planning. Set in a picturesque California estate, the series blends practical advice with candid conversations with celebrity guests like Mindy Kaling and Roy Choi. The show also serves as a platform for Meghan's new lifestyle brand, As Ever, which offers curated products inspired by the series. Public reception: a mixed bag. The public's reaction to With Love, Meghan has been polarizing, with opinions ranging from admiration to harsh criticism. Positive reception. Supporters praised the show for its feel-good content and Meghan's effort to reclaim her narrative. Many viewers found the series heartwarming and appreciated its focus on creativity and homemaking. The inclusion of personal anecdotes, such as Meghan's jam-making sessions with her children, resonated with fans who admired her authenticity. Criticism and backlash. Critics, particularly in the UK, labeled the show as overly polished and disconnected from the realities of everyday life. Some described it as narcissistic and pointless, criticizing its portrayal of an unattainable lifestyle. The media backlash highlighted cultural differences in reception, with British audiences finding the tone overly saccharine, while some American viewers appreciated its aspirational quality. Social media buzz. The show sparked significant discussion online, with hashtags trending on platforms like Twitter. While some users celebrated Meghan's return to her lifestyle roots, others mocked the series for its perceived lack of substance. Implications for Meghan's brand. With Love, Meghan represents a strategic pivot for Meghan Markle as she transitions from royal life to media entrepreneurship. The mixed reception underscores the challenges of balancing public expectations with personal branding. Despite the criticism, the show has succeeded in keeping Meghan in the public eye and has generated substantial buzz for her lifestyle brand. This case study illustrates the complexities of public perception in the digital age, where celebrity ventures are scrutinized through diverse cultural and social lenses. Whether With Love, Meghan will achieve long-term success remains to be seen, but it has undoubtedly sparked conversations about the evolving role of homemaking in modern media. The backlash to Meghan Markle's Netflix show, a thinly veiled racism. When Meghan Markle launched her Netflix series With Love, Meghan, it was meant to be a celebration of homemaking, creativity, and personal storytelling. Instead, the show became a lightning rod for criticism, much of which was steeped in thinly veiled racism. The backlash wasn't just about the content, it was about who Meghan is, what she represents, and the audacity of a Black woman to claim space in a realm traditionally dominated by whiteness. The double standard of homemaking. Let's start with the obvious: homemaking shows are nothing new. From Martha Stewart to Joanna Gaines, white women have long been celebrated for their ability to turn domesticity into an art form. Yet when Meghan Markle, a biracial woman, steps into the space, the narrative shifts. Suddenly, her show is labeled as narcissistic, pointless, and out of touch. The criticism reeks of a double standard, where white women are praised for their homemaking prowess while black women are dismissed or ridiculed for the same efforts. Historically, black women have been excluded from the idealized image of homemaking. During slavery, they were forced to care for white households while being denied the right to nurture their own families. Even in modern times, the stereotype of the strong black woman has often been used to deny black women the softness and creativity associated with homemaking. Megan's show challenges these stereotypes, and the backlash reveals just how uncomfortable some people are with that. The weaponization of authenticity. One of the most common critiques of With Love, Megan is that it feels inauthentic. Critics argue that the show is overly polished and disconnected from reality. But let's be real, when has authenticity ever been a requirement for lifestyle content? Martha Stewart built an empire on perfection, not relatability. The difference here is that Megan's authenticity is being weaponized against her, a tactic often used to discredit black women in public spaces. The demand for Megan to be authentic is a coded way of saying she should stay in her lane. It's a reminder that society often expects black women to perform struggle and hardship rather than joy and luxury. By presenting herself as a homemaker in a beautiful California estate, Megan defies these expectations, and that defiance is precisely what makes her a target. The role of British tabloids in amplifying racism. The British media has played a significant role in shaping the negative narrative around Megan's show. Tabloids have long targeted Megan with racially charged headlines, painting her as a manipulative, attention-seeking outsider. The coverage of With Love, Megan is no different. Critics have seized on the show as yet another opportunity to undermine her, using dog whistles and microaggressions to frame her as undeserving of her platform. This isn't just about Megan, it's about the broader discomfort with black women occupying spaces of influence and visibility. The backlash to her show is a reflection of the systemic racism that permeates media coverage of black public figures, where their every move is scrutinized and criticized in ways that white counterparts rarely experience. The racist dynamics surrounding black women and homemaking are deeply rooted in history, particularly in the post-slavery era. When black women were finally able to establish their own homes and focus on their families, systemic racism and societal expectations often forced them back into labor, primarily to serve white households. The mammy stereotype and white women's resentment. During Reconstruction and beyond, many white women, particularly in the South, relied on black women as domestic workers. The mammy stereotype, a caricature of a loyal, self-sacrificing black woman devoted to white families, was weaponized to justify this exploitation. When black women sought to prioritize their own homes and families, white women often reacted with hostility, accusing them of being lazy or ungrateful. This resentment stemmed from the belief that black women existed to serve white households, not to build their own. Economic coercion and systemic barriers. Even when black women could legally choose homemaking, economic systems were designed to limit their options. Sharecropping, discriminatory labor practices, and lack of access to fair wages often forced black women into domestic work to make ends meet. White women, particularly those in middle and upper classes, resented the idea of losing their help and lobbied for policies that kept black women economically dependent on domestic labor. The double standard of homemaking. While white women were celebrated for their roles as homemakers, black women were denied the same respect. Their labor within their own homes was devalued, while their work in white households was seen as essential. This double standard reinforced the racist notion that black women were inherently suited for servitude rather than self-determination. Resistance through homemaking. Despite these challenges, black women continued to resist through homemaking. By creating spaces of love, culture, and resilience, they defied the racist systems that sought to dehumanize them. Their homes became sanctuaries where they could nurture their families and preserve their identities, even in the face of systemic oppression. This history underscores the resilience of black women homemakers who have continually fought to reclaim their right to care for their own families and define homemaking on their own terms. Conclusion: Black homemaking as a legacy of power. Far from being a mere domestic chore, homemaking for Black women has always been a dynamic, radical act of creation and resistance. From the enslaved quarters of the plantation to the urban apartments of the Great Migration and the activist homes of the Civil Rights era, Black women have wielded homemaking as a tool of empowerment. Today, their legacy endures, reminding the world that home is not just a place, it's a testament to survival, culture, and love. The negative reaction to With Love, Meghan isn't just about the show, it's about what Meghan represents. As a biracial woman, a former actress, and a member of the British royal family, she challenges traditional notions of race, class, and femininity. Her Netflix series is a celebration of homemaking, but the backlash reveals society's discomfort with seeing a Black woman in a space traditionally reserved for white women. In the end, the criticism of Meghan's show says more about the critics than it does about her. It's a reminder that racism isn't always overt, it often hides behind words like inauthentic and out of touch. But as history has shown, Black women like Meghan have always found ways to thrive in the face of adversity. With Love, Meghan is just another chapter in that legacy. Alright, folks, that's a wrap. I hope this deep dive into the backlash surrounding Meghan Markle's With Love, Meghan shed some light on the not-so-subtle layers of racism baked into the criticism. It's 2025, and we're still having these conversations because we need to. Let's keep unpacking, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep holding people accountable for these double standards. If you enjoyed this analysis, or maybe it just gave you something to think about, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more unapologetic, straight-talking content like this. And hey, sound off in the comments, I want to hear your thoughts. Whether you're Team Meghan or just here for the tea, let's get this discussion going. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay bold, stay informed, and stay unapologetic. See you next time. What do you think? Does a Black woman living the soft life irritate people? Let me know in the comments section. Stay bougie. Follow and support me. All links in bio. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check description for more info. New episodes every day.